Homemade vegan hamburger buns. Ooh, so good. Let's get into it. Firstly, I do want to start by letting you guys know that this recipe is in the freshly baked vegan breads, but we're going to start off with some water in a cup, also adding some sugar and also an active dry yeast packet. We're going to go ahead and give that a nice stir so it can kind of froth up a little bit so that the yeast will activate so we can begin to make the bread. After 5 to 10 minutes, we're going to go ahead and add our avocado oil. We're also going to add some salt. I am adding 1.5 teaspoons of that. Always remember that the ingredients and the measurements are linked down in the description. After giving that a good mix, we're going to go ahead and begin to add in our flour. Now we're going to add this in slowly and gradually, cup by cup. So I started off with adding 1 cup to the liquid mixture, and then we're going to continue to add the cups. Now, as you can see, I am stirring in between adding cups. So you want to add 1 cup of flour, go ahead and give it a nice stir until it's completely mixed. Add another cup of flour, give it a nice stir until it's completely mixed, and continue the process. Now for today's bread, we will be using the food processor. Now that is not something that you have to do, but I just want to blend in my final cup of flour with the food processor. So if you have one, then of course you're definitely welcome to use it because it does have a dough setting. If you do not have one, no worries, you can continue to stir it with a spoon. My food processor does have like a dough attachment, so I did remove my blades and then I added the plastic attachment so that it could make the dough better. Now I did end up adding, like I said, the additional 1 cup of flour, and I did add a little bit of water in with it just so that it wouldn't be too hard. After that final cup of flour was mixed into the mix, I did go ahead and lay down some parchment paper on my counter, y'all. I do not like kneading on the counter directly. I normally do use like some saran wrap, which I think is 10 times better than this wax paper. But all I had in my kitchen, child, was this wax paper, so that's what we'll be using. You know, we're going to use what we got to get the result that we want, okay? So I am going to go ahead and just knead the dough until it becomes like a smooth texture. If you can look at it right now, it does have kind of some lumps and little ripples in it, but you want to continue to go ahead and knead until it is smooth. Now you can do this process in the food processor since we did mix it, and it will go ahead and continue the kneading process for you, but I did want to do some of the work, so I just decided to go ahead and take it out and knead some with my hands. After the dough is smooth, you want to go ahead and get you a bowl and spray it down with some avocado oil or whatever type of oil you have. Go ahead and plop the dough down, and you want to turn the dough so that it is completely coated in the oil because we're going to let this dough rise. As you can see, mine does have a hole in the bottom, but it's just how I was kneading. I am going to be using some wax paper and also some paper towel and let it rise for 1 hour, and this is how it should look. It should double in size, okay? This is the first first rise. So for the next one, make sure you punch all that air out of that dough, okay? We're gonna put it back onto the wax paper, and this time I'm gonna go ahead and cut it into the pieces of bread. So it is still oily after that hour of rising, so it should not stick to your counter or your wax paper, but if you need to, you can lightly flour the surface so that the dough will not stick. So I am cutting mine into 12 pieces. I did want to make some big buns and some small buns for my baby, of course, because when I do make him a hamburger, which is what I'm going to make with these, of course, they're hamburger buns, but I wanted to do some smaller buns so that he won't leave so much of the bread, because when I do make hamburgers, he likes majority of like the vegan meat that I make and the ingredients and the toppings and stuff like that. So I just wanted to make him a smaller bun. After cutting them into pieces, I am going to go ahead and roll it up into a ball. Now, it's many ways that you can shape your hamburger buns. This way, I was just really doing trial and error. So I did actually try mine a few different ways, which I found the better technique for me, which you can do the same. So I'm just basically shaping it into a ball, and then I'm going to take my hand into like an OK symbol and just roll it across the top. I found it easier to use my middle finger instead of my pointer finger to do this process, so I did do some like this, and then I shaped the ends or the edges rounded back how I like them. I also found that if you just shape them into a ball and you kind of cup your hand over the top of the ball and kind of flatten it so that it can make that dome shape at the top, and then the bottom will be flat. That actually works too, but like I said, this part is trial and error, whatever works for you. So I'm gonna go ahead and roll all of my dough pieces into little buns, and I am adding them to some parchment paper and a baking sheet so that we can pop these in the oven. Now you want to make sure your oven is set on 375 degrees. Make sure to preheat it so it's already hot, because we are going to let these rise for a second time for about 30 to 45 minutes, and they should double in size. Once they do, we're going to go ahead and pop those into the oven and allow them to bake for about 25 to 30 minutes. After baking, this is how they looked. I did brush some oil on mine, and then there you have it. You just want to go ahead and cut it, and I just used a bread knife to cut mine, and y'all, these buns were so soft and delicious. The outside was crispy, just how I like my buns. Oh my God, I made some delicious hamburgers, which y'all will see tomorrow. But please comment down below. Let me know if you're going to try this recipe. Also, if you need more details, remember this recipe is in the cookbook that will be linked down in the description, which includes 9 other types of vegan freshly baked breads. But I do want to thank you so much for watching until the end of this video. Do not forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.